Caleb's incredible journey, a warrior of faith who revealed God's plan to enter the promised land. In the 40th year of wandering in the wilderness, the Israelites camped under the looming presence of Mount Nebo. Caleb, son of Jephunneh from the tribe of Judah, paused amidst the discontent swirling like dust in the dry air. The sun bore down with unrelenting heat while mothers soothed their restless children, and fathers recounted tales of the land promised to them, a land brimming with milk and honey. But the whispers filled with doubt pierced through the obscuring noise of hopeful stories. "Will we ever enter Canaan?" they murmured. "Are we not like grasshoppers in their sight?" Caleb, a man of conviction and faith, felt a surge of righteous anger ignite within him. He resolutely gathered the elders of Israel, his broad shoulders squared against the burden of despair clouding their hearts. "Remember," he implored, his voice traveling through the camps like the call of a chauffeur, "the day we returned from spying out the land. We brought back clusters of grapes so large they required 2 men to carry them. Our God has promised us this land. Shall we not trust him? Let us go up at once and occupy it, for we are well able to overcome it." A flicker of hope ignited in the eyes of some, but the icy grip of fear smothered it. They regarded him as a madman, blinded by a fool's optimism. Days turned into years upon years of weary wandering, where doubt spread like a contagion among them, filling the hearts of the people with a yearning for the comforts of captivity in Egypt. Yet Caleb did not lose heart. He spent mornings seeking the presence of the Lord, his soul steadfast like the towering mountains around him. Each memory of the fruitful land he had seen fostered his unwavering faith, and he pressed on while others fell away. They may have forgotten the covenant, but not Caleb. He clung tightly to the promise given through Moses, reminding himself that God's timing was perfect. As the moment of promise grew near, Caleb remained resolute while a new dawn broke on the horizon of their destiny. Now, at 85, he stood ready, pulsating with the vigor of the young men who once accompanied him into Canaan. The leader of Israel, Joshua, prepared to take them across the threshold of a promised future. Caleb stepped forth, filled with earnest conviction. "Moses swore to me that this mountain, the one upon which I set my feet, would be my inheritance," he declared, pointing toward the rugged heights of Hebron. "I am as strong today as I was the day I spied out the land. Give me this mountain." Before we continue with this incredible biblical account, I want to make sure you don't miss any of these powerful scripture stories. Click the bell icon and select all notifications. These biblical narratives have transformed countless lives throughout history. If God's word through this story is blessing you, please like and share with someone who needs to hear about God's faithfulness today. Tell me in the comments, which biblical story has most impacted your faith journey? I'm always amazed how God's word speaks to hearts across generations. Now let's continue with what the Lord did next. His words washed over the crowd, stirring murmurs of disbelief and astonishment. Would they finally trust the God who had promised them this land? Would they embrace the warrior spirit of Caleb, echoing the courage of heaven? As the air vibrated with anticipation, the path of their destiny teetered on the knife edge of faith. Would fear overshadow the promise? Would they seize the inheritance laid before them by the hand that led them through the wilderness? The mountains loomed, whispering of a divine plan just waiting to unfurl. As the dust settled around the encampment, a hush fell over the multitude. Joshua, standing tall among them, turned his earnest gaze toward Caleb. The crowd, gripped by uncertainty, awaited his response. "Caleb," Joshua spoke with solemnity, "your faith is a beacon for our people. But the land is not merely waiting for us, it is guarded by giants, and the cities are fortified to withstand our advance. What say you to that?" Caleb's eyes burned with fiery resolve, the Spirit of the Lord alive within him. "Let them come. For the Lord has promised us victory. Fear not the giants, for they are but bread for us, their defenses shall crumble like sand before the waves. We will conquer them, for our God fights for us." His voice rose as he declared, "He who is with us is greater than all who stand against us. Shall we not go forward and claim what is rightfully ours?" With those words, a spark ignited within some hearts, yet others remained hesitant, whispering doubt amongst themselves. The echoes of their murmured fears filled the air. What if our children fall? What if the land devours us? Their complaints slithered through the camp, aiming to suffocate the faith Caleb had expertly woven through the hearts of the weary. Yet Caleb stood unmoved. His thoughts turned to the divine deliverance they had already experienced, the parting of the Red Sea, the quail and manna supplied in the desert, and the promise of the land echoing through Moses. "Remember," he said, "the Lord is with us. He has brought us this far, has he not? Shall we not trust him to continue? The land flows with milk and honey, and our inheritance awaits." As his voice faded, the tension in the air thickened. It was then that disputes began to rise among the elders and the tribes. Some clamored for retreat, convinced that death awaited them in the promised land. But Caleb, undeterred, approached Joshua. "Let us take a reconnaissance of the land. Show them the proof, the very fruit that bears witness to God's promises." Joshua, invigorated by Caleb's unwavering spirit, nodded in agreement. Together, they ascended the ridge overlooking the verdant expanse of Canaan. The sun illuminated the valleys below, glistening upon the fruitful trees that bowed under the weight of their harvest. Caleb turned to those around him, a vision of hope in his eyes. "There lies our inheritance," he exclaimed, his voice ringing like a clarion call. "Can you not see it? The Lord's promise is alive. Gather the people. Let them see the bounty we have sought for so long." Joshua summoned the leaders, and soon the whole camp gathered. They beheld the lush land that seemed to drip with blessings. The people gazed in wonder, tasting the sweetness of their hope reignited, but amidst the awe, shadows still lurked. Those who thirsted for despair began to murmur again. "The giants stand fierce. We cannot claim this destiny." The weight of fear pressed heavily, threatening to quench the flicker of faith ignited afresh. Caleb's voice rose once more. "But what is man, that we should fear? If God is for us, who can be against us?" The words pierced through the gloom like rays of sunlight breaking through dark clouds, igniting the courage of hearts now trembling. In that moment, trembling fingers clutched at the impossible heart of faith, bridging the gap between doubt and promise. As the crowd began to turn toward faith, a harrowing thought lingered in the air. What if the struggle ahead was not what they expected? What if their victory would require more than they were ready to give? The mountains that loomed above bore witness to the clash of faith and fear unfolding below. In that decisive moment, as all waited for the answer that God would unfold, the subtle whisper of divine purpose emerged. "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future." And so, the path was set before them, but the course remained to be revealed, wondrously filled with God's sovereign hand. As the murmurs settled and the crowd contemplated Caleb's impassioned plea, the air grew thick with anticipation. Many hearts began to stir, ignited by the flames of hope that flickered amidst their fears. Yet still, a faction of doubt lingered, whispering shadows of despair into the ears of the faithful. Joshua, standing firm beside Caleb, raised his voice above the tumult. "Let the men of valor arise. Let us send forth spies into the land, as Moses commanded, that we may see if the promises of the Lord stand true." His call resonated like a trumpet, cutting through the veils of skepticism, and so it was agreed. From each tribe, a leader was chosen to explore the land. Among them was Caleb, his heart pounding fervently with the conviction of God's unyielding promise, and Joshua, steadfast like an oak tree. There were others, too, Ephraim's representative, ascending from the tribe's pride, and Benjamin, known for its warrior lineage, united before the task that loomed ahead. Days passed as the spies ventured into the heart of Canaan, traversing hills and valleys. Fortified cities rose mightily, and the echoes of a distant people reached their ears, shouts of defiance against any who dared to approach. Yet the land was also rich, teeming with fruit that was beyond description. They gathered it in clusters, the grapes so large that 2 men bore a single cluster upon a pole. When the spies returned, exuberance erupted within the camp as the bounty was unveiled. "Truly, it is a land flowing with milk and honey," they proclaimed, holding up the fruits of their labor. The sweetness of the earth throbbed in their veins, and for a moment, hope was reignited, yet soon the darkened cloud of their true report settled over the encampment. But the inhabitants are powerful, they warned. Great in stature and fierce in battle. Their cities are walled up to the heavens. We appeared as grasshoppers in their sight. The hearts of the people sank, and despair twisted around their spirits like vines choking an ancient tree. Caleb's heart raced, he could sense the tide of despair washing over the faithful. No. He cried out, breaking through the shroud of fear. We are well able to conquer them. For the Lord has given us this land. But the assembly faltered, torn between the breadth of Caleb's faith and the weight of the eyewitness accounts. Their fear held them hostage, binding the very hope that had begun to take root. As a night filled with fear descended upon the camp, Caleb and Joshua took a stand, their voices ringing with authority and divine assurance. The Lord is with us, do not fear. They declared, unyielding in their conviction. How long shall this people provoke me? The Lord spoke in the depths of the night, his voice echoing within the hearts of his chosen. How long will they doubt my promises? I have led them through the wilderness, and they shall not perish. But tomorrow, the decision of their hearts shall determine their path. The dawn broke, light spilling over the weary encampment, revealing the faces twisted in despair and uncertainty. Yet Caleb and Joshua rallied the faithful, embodying a spirit of resilience. We shall rise. We shall march forward, for victory already belongs to us. For our God is a mighty warrior. In that moment, as they prepared to rise from ashes of doubt to glory of faith, the flames of his purpose began to burn brighter than before. And in the heavens above, the tapestry of God's sovereign plan wove tighter. This generation shall know the strength of my hand, for as the giants roar, so shall the hearts of my people be indomitable, a testament to my unbroken covenant. So the fate of the Israelites hung in the balance, waiting for the fullness of time when faith would be met with divine intervention, revealing the depths of God's plan for those who would believe. As the sun stretched its golden arms over the encampment, a collective breath hesitated in the depths of the unyielding hearts of Israel. The camp murmured with uncertainty, the words of Caleb and Joshua weaving through the air like a hesitant breeze. An eternal choice loomed, to embrace the daunting tasks ahead or to yield to overwhelming fear. Caleb, his steadfast spirit aflame with resolve, gathered the leaders of the tribes. Brothers, he implored, do not let the towering walls and fearsome giants dissuade us from the promise of our God. Remember the mighty acts he has performed. With our God leading us, we shall triumph. He has called us forth to take this land. Joshua, echoing his companion's fervor, raised an arm toward the heavens. If the Lord delights in us, he will bring us into this land and give it to us, a land flowing with milk and honey. What is a fortified city to the Creator of the universe? Yet the murmurs of doubt crept through the assembly like ivy, entangling the hearts that once beat with hope. The trepidation grew palpable, and among the fearful, a restless spirit whispered, why should we confront what seems impossible? Are we to stake our lives against these giants? In the shadows of the multitude stood one, a daughter of Ziph, named Miriam, who observed with wisdom beyond her years. Listen. Do you not recall how he parted the Red Sea? How he fed us with manna from heaven? He has not led us this far to forsake us now. Her voice pierced through the veil of despair, igniting flickers of faith still smoldering within, but doubt remained a fierce foe, strong in its relentless grip. They were like giants, the spies had warned of the inhabitants. And we, as grasshoppers. The words echoed hauntingly, drowning out the spirit of courage that flickered in Caleb's heart. Courage, dear friends. Caleb cried out again, God has laid before us a path that only requires our faith. Do not rebel against the Creator's will. Do not fear the giants, the battle belongs to the Lord. Yet at the edges of the encampment, the voices of dissent began to grow louder. Let us choose a captain and return to Egypt. They clamored, a chorus of frustration and fear spilling forth like a flood. The suggestion rang hollow in the ears of the faithful, those nurtured by divine promise. Suddenly, a hush descended upon the camp, the voice of the Lord reverberated through the silence. how long will I endure this evil congregation that murmurs against me? Hear, O Israel! I have placed before you life and death, choose life, that you may live. Those words struck like lightning amidst the clouds of despair. The realization dawned upon the people the call to their faith was not merely a wager against giants, but a divine invitation to witness His glory. Caleb and Joshua bowed their heads, lifting their prayers to the Almighty. O Lord, grant us strength. We trust in your promise. Lead us into the land you have prepared. As they arose from their knees, a profound shift began to take place in the hearts of the people. Whispers of courage began to mingle with the faith rekindled by the promise that resided in the hearts of Caleb and Joshua. They summoned the strength to rally to the cause, spirits ignited as they understood this battle was not theirs alone, and in that moment, where hearts stood poised on the brink of faith, the skies rolled back, revealing God's sovereign plan unfolding. The time is approaching for the land to be given to my people. As mastery over their own spirits ignites, they shall see that only in faith do they lay hold of the promises of their God. Thus, the Israelites stood on the precipice of history, trembling yet exhilarated, as the promise of the Lord surged forward beckoning them to embrace the impossible. As the hush of anticipation hung in the air, the remnants of fear began to fade, and hope stirred within the hearts of the Israelites. They could feel the pulse of destiny quickening, uniting their spirits as one. With eyes lifted to the heavens and voices raised in unison, they began to affirm their faith in the Lord's promises. We shall go forth. We shall take the land. Their fervor echoed through the encampment, pushing back against the shadows of doubt. Caleb took a step forward, emboldened by the determination now radiating among them. Let us prepare our hearts and minds. Tomorrow, we stand as one before the giants, armed not only with swords but with the unyielding truth of God's covenant. He turned to Joshua, and together they led the assembly in prayer, trusting that the Lord would guide their steps. That night, the camp was alive with whispered prayers and fervent hopes. Families gathered, sharing stories of the miracles they had witnessed, the plagues upon Egypt, the parting of the Red Sea, the daily provision of manna. The stories served as a bridge, rekindling the fierce spark of faith that had defined their journey, but amidst the swelling tides of faith, shadows still lingered. A faction of the people, cloaked in skepticism, convened by the edge of the campfire. What if we perish? They mused. What if the power of our forefathers is not enough against these giants? Their hearts thrummed with insidious fear, striving to drown out the promise hidden within their shared memories. As the night wore on, Miriam, wise and perceptive, overheard their dark deliberations. She approached them with a steadfastness that had become her calling. Do not let fear root your hearts in despair. The Lord has not abandoned us. She proclaimed fervently. Remember the covenant. He has declared, I will be your God, and you shall be my people. We must not falter now. He has called us to this battle, and to fight is to fulfill his purpose. Her words fell like seeds upon barren ground, stirring a moment of reflection. But the half-hearted murmurs persisted. Should we test God once more? Shall we turn from the path he has set? Yet, as the dawn broke, light pierced through the darkness, revealing the faces of their brothers and sisters, unified and resolute. Caleb and Joshua took their stand before the people. Today is the day of reckoning. Caleb declared, his voice rising above the growing anticipation. We shall trust in the Lord's promise. With each step towards the western boundary of Canaan, the Israelites found their rhythm, a march woven together by faith, chanting affirmations of hope, and clinging to the visions of lush fields and fortified cities. As they approached the towering gates of Jericho, an overwhelming sense of divine purpose enveloped them. The air grew thick with anticipation, and the ground vibrated beneath their clamoring feet. From within the walls, the lingering echoes of fear met their resolute stance. But suddenly, as they gathered in formation, the ground trembled, and a voice thundered from the heavens. Behold! I have delivered the land unto you. Pass before these gates, for I will show you signs and wonders. The people, electrified by the weight of his promise, fell silent, absorbing the divine proclamation. Hearts quickened, knowing that they stood on hallowed ground where God's plan unfolded before their very eyes, yet, just as faith blossomed, so too did the fear of uncertainty. In the moment of promise, shadows loomed larger still. They found themselves wondering, what power would it take to bring down the walls before us? And amidst the silence that followed, the Lord spoke yet again, echoing through the clouds, "Fear not, for the battle is mine, and the victory is assured. But first prepare your hearts, for the land must be claimed through faith in action." Thus, standing on the brink of a transformative moment, the Israelites awaited the unfolding of God's magnificent strategy, their hearts brimming with divine expectation. Then Joshua, with eyes brightened by the call of the Almighty, addressed the gathered multitude. "Hear, O Israel! Today, we embark on a journey not merely of conquest, but of faith. Let us follow the commands given to us, for the Lord our God has said, 'March around the city, all you men of war. You shall go around the city once. This you shall do for 6 days.'" As he spoke, the people nodded earnestly, their hearts swelling with anticipation. In that moment, the air itself seemed to resonate with divine purpose, as if the very fabric of creation acknowledged the unfolding will of God. Each Israelite felt a surge of unity, an unbreakable bond forged by shared promise and divine covenant. Caleb stepped forward, his voice steady and resolute. "Let us not linger in uncertainty. Our Lord is a mighty warrior. Though the walls of Jericho stand tall, we are not defeated, we shall rise above the giants through the strength he provides." Their resolve was palpable, rising like incense towards heaven. The Lord had laid before them not just a journey, but a testament to his enduring faithfulness. As they prepared to move, the priests stepped forth, bearing the Ark of the Covenant. Its golden edges glimmered with the light of the dawn, symbolizing God's presence amidst their midst. A hush fell upon the people as they beheld the sacred object, an eternal reminder of the promises that encapsulated their fate. The elder and the young, the warrior and the scribe, all gathered to hear the words of authority. "On the 7th day, you shall march around the city 7 times. And when you hear the shout of the trumpets, all the people shall shout with a great shout. Then the walls of the city will fall down flat." Joshua declared, his voice thundering like the heavenly proclamation that had echoed through the morning. As they set forth, each step became an act of worship, each breath filled with prayer. The rhythm of their marching reverberated through the ancient earth, a unison of faith moving towards the sacred promise nestled within the heart of Jericho. They encircled the walls, the cacophony of their footsteps mingling with the sound of the wind that danced around them. With every march, whispers of fear intermingled, yet each circuit drew them closer to the fulfillment of God's word. A few within the ranks felt a tremor of doubt creep into their hearts. What if our efforts are in vain? What if the giant's strength exceeds our faith? But then, the sweet echo of a familiar melody, born from memory and promise, swept through the people. It was the song of liberation, reminding them of the God who parted seas and brought victory from the jaws of despair. As the 7th day dawned bright and clear, they gathered once more, resting trustfully in the power of Yahweh. With their hearts aligned to the rhythm of faith, they marched, round and round. Each circle, a testament to their conviction, each trumpet blast, a reminder of God's mighty hand ready to act. And when the last trumpet sounded, Caleb raised his voice, calling the people to shout, "For the Lord has given us the city." Their voices soared into the heavens, a thunderous declaration of faith. And at that moment, the ground beneath them began to shudder, the walls, fortified by fear, trembled as if ready to give way to the promise of the Most High. As dust rose where stone once stood firm, the sound of victory echoed through the valleys, reverberating against the mountains. The people rushed into the breach, hearts ablaze with divine joy. With the walls of Jericho collapsing, the unfolding of God's sovereign plan became apparent. It would be through humble obedience and unwavering faith that the land would be claimed. But even as victory was snatched from the jaws of doubt, an unseen force shifted beneath the surface, reminding them that God's plan was far greater than they could comprehend. To the east, in the shadows, another chapter of their journey awaited, a land where greater trials lingered, a place where the faithful would be tested once more, and through it all, the heart of God would be revealed in ways they could scarcely imagine. And as the dust settled and the cries of triumph echoed through the land, Joshua began to command the people with wisdom bestowed upon him by the Lord. Choose men from among you and let them go into the city. Bring out the woman and all that belong to her, as you have sworn to her. The people, full of fervor, hastened to obey, guided by the very hand of faith that had led them thus far. With swift steps, the chosen men entered Jericho, their hearts beating with holy resolve. There was Rahab, a woman once marked by past shadows, now a beacon of light amid the ruins. They remembered her words, the pledge they had made, and they found her dwelling, marked by the scarlet cord that hung from her window, a reminder of God's mercy amid judgment. Outside the city, as the smoke curled into the sky, those who had fought valiantly for the promise of their God celebrated with joy. Yet, among them, there were murmurs of awe as some dared to ask, "What of the land before us? Will the Lord continue to bestow his favor? Will the promise lead us deeper into strife?" Caleb, ever steadfast, stepped into their midst, the fire of divine fervor igniting his spirit as he stood firm. "Fear not. For the Lord our God is not only the God of this victory but the author of our destiny. He leads us into a land flowing with milk and honey, and he will empower us against every foe that stands in our way." So they established a covenant among themselves, one born not only of battle but of faith. An altar was raised, and stones taken from the very rubble of Jericho were set together in remembrance. "For thus says the Lord," Joshua proclaimed, "when your children ask, 'What do these stones mean?' you shall say, 'They are a reminder of the empowering hand of the Lord in our deliverance.'" The people sang songs of praise, recounting not only the collapse of Jericho's towering walls but the resilience of their hearts and the undeniable presence of God. Yet, as festivities carried on, a shadow loomed on the horizon beyond the crimson scarlet cord that symbolized mercy. The land was still vast and filled with giants, for the path to the promised fulfillment lay laden with further trials. Whether they would falter or thrive became the delicious tension that hung palpably upon the lips of every warrior, elder, and child present. As weeks flowed into days, Joshua felt the weight of what lay ahead. He sensed the need for deeper preparation of the heart rather than merely the sword, and so it was that he called upon the tribes of Israel to sanctify themselves, for the Lord would do wonders among them. "Prepare, for tomorrow will bring forth the miracles of the Almighty," he declared, the phrasing echoing the ancient prophetic call to holiness. This command stirred the hearts of many. Yet, in the quiet chambers of the elders' circles, restless spirits murmured doubts. Would they have enough courage to follow through? How would they stand against fortified cities whose defenses were more than mere stone? The very air thickened, laden with divine expectancy, for the Lord would manifest himself anew. Just beyond the next horizon lay a city called Ai, small, yet brimming with spirits undaunted. And as Joshua prepared his heart and the people for the next chapter of their odyssey, anticipation surged. What lay before them was not merely physical conquest, but a test of unyielding faith and divine purpose. Little did they know, God had already set in motion the plan that would transcend their understanding, a tapestry woven with threads of trial, victory, and reflection, the likes of which would call nations to reckon with his glory. Thus, the journey continued, and the question lingered: how would the God of Jericho reveal his might and presence in yet unfathomed realms? The hearts of the faithful brimmed with the hope, the Lord has not ceased to amaze. Early the next day, as the sun cast its golden hue over the encamped Israelites, Joshua rose before the dawn, stirring within him a sense of divine purpose. Kneeling in the soft dew-drenched grass, he called upon the Lord, seeking wisdom for the forthcoming battle against Ai. The winds whispered around him, as if the heavens themselves awaited the unfolding of God's will. "Lord," he prayed, his voice filled with earnestness, "how shall we advance against this city?" The answer came not in roaring thunder, nor in crackling lightning, but in the stillness that filled his heart, a voice both gentle and commanding. "Do not be afraid, for I am with you. Rise, and I will deliver Ai into your hands." Strengthened by the word of the Lord, Joshua summoned the leaders of the tribes. "Hear me, O Israel. We are to ascend against Ai with courage and obedience. We shall divide our forces, for the Lord has given us this city. His words resonated, stirring the hearts of the assembled warriors, igniting within them a flame of determination that could not be quenched. Caleb, intrepid as ever, stood forth among them, his eyes ablaze with faith. "Let us not underestimate our God. For he has shown us great wonders and delivered us from mighty foes. These walls are no stronger than the hearts of those who dwell within them." Thus, plans were set. A contingent of warriors would attack Ai from the front, while the rest would encircle the city, a strategy divinely inspired. The people gathered their weapons, hearts thundering with anticipation, yet, as they began their march, a sense of unease shadowed some among them. "What if our hearts fail in the face of strongholds?" They whispered to one another, as doubt began to weave its way through the ranks. Joshua, sensing the misgivings, raised his voice above the throng. "Have courage. It is our faith that conquers, not merely our swords. Remember Rahab and the scarlet cord, a symbol of salvation." His reminder filled their spirits, yet the uncertainty loomed. When the armies reached the city of Ai, resistance flared. A fierce battle erupted, and the warriors faced the might of the inhabitants. The cry of the brave echoed through the valley as arrows flew and swords clashed, yet the men grew weary, faltering before their adversaries. In the chaos, Joshua lifted his hands to the heavens, a gesture of surrender to his God. "O Lord, grant us victory, for we stand in need of your divine intervention." Then the Lord addressed him anew. "Raise your spear toward Ai. With it, the battle shall be won." Faith surged within Joshua, igniting his resolve. With unwavering fidelity, he raised his staff toward the city, the same staff that had parted the waters, the same staff that had led to triumph over Jericho. As he did so, a great quiet swept through the land. Those who fought the Israelites trembled as confusion surged within them. Divinely orchestrated, the troops positioned their attack, encircling the city as flames erupted behind its walls, the smoke rising like a memorial of their divine disobedience. In that moment, the Lord granted victory. A resounding cry went forth as Israel swept into the city, claiming what was promised. A day filled with both celebration and reflection ensued, reminding the people of their need to uphold the covenant they shared with the Lord. As evening fell, and a calm settled over the land, Joshua gathered the elders once more. "Let us remember this day," he proclaimed, "for though we faced uncertainty, our God led us as he promised. Our journey is not yet complete." But as he spoke, beneath the echoes of victory, God whispered in silence, weaving his grand design. For every wonder performed was but a thread in a greater tapestry, one that transcended their immediate understanding, and thus the question lingered in the hearts of the faithful: what other mysteries did the Lord have in store for his chosen people? What further revelations awaited them on the path to the promised land? As night draped its shroud over the camp of the Israelites, the fires danced with flickering light, casting shadows among the tents, where murmurs of praise and recounting of the day's great victory echoed. However, in the heart of Caleb, there stirred a restlessness, a yearning for the fullness of what God had promised. "Joshua," he called, seeking the leader among the throngs of rejoicing men. "This victory is but a taste of what lies ahead. Let us not forget the land that flows with milk and honey, for it waits for the faithful to take it." His voice rang with the urgency of a man who had seen the promise, even when others faltered. Joshua turned to Caleb, his eyes gleaming with the same passion. "Indeed, dear friend. We must encourage our people to remember that our God has not only granted victory today but has also spoken of greater fortunes, those in the land soon to be claimed." The elders gathered around, and Caleb declared, "Let us make haste not only in our victories but in our pursuit of all that God has bestowed upon us. We shall share what we know, lest the hearts of our brethren grow weary and forget the promise." Thus, Caleb began to recount the tales of their ancestors, how the Lord had made a covenant with Abraham, how Isaac's laughter signaled the gift of a son, and how Jacob contended for blessings. With each story, the fires of the elders burned more brightly, illuminating their faces with conviction. As dawn broke, painting the sky in hues of hope, Caleb stood upon a rock, addressing the people of Israel. "Brothers and sisters, remember the Lord's words, every place that the sole of your foot will tread upon I have given to you, as I said to Moses." Joshua 1 verse 3. The land is ripe, awaiting those who dare to believe. The people cheered, their spirits buoyed by Caleb's fervent reminder of God's faithfulness. Yet, amidst the jubilance, the air became heavy with anticipation, an unspoken weight pressing upon them. There was work yet to be done. In a prayer meeting that followed, Joshua and Caleb sought the Lord together. "O God, reveal to us your heart for this people," they implored, sensing that there was more hidden within the divine promise than their eyes had yet seen. As they prayed, a hush fell across the assembly, and the presence of the Lord manifested like a thick cloud among them. It felt as if heaven had drawn near, bridging the chasm between the sacred and the temporal. Suddenly, like thunder in the stillness, the Lord spoke clearly, "This nation must be prepared to walk by faith. For as they step into new battles, they will discover that task too great ceases to be impossible, for I, the Lord, am their God. But woe to the one who sows distrust in my promise." Caleb, emboldened, rose again to address the people. "As the Lord has spoken, let our hearts remain steadfast in confidence. As we move toward the land, we must encourage one another to trust in His leading. He has already made the way before us." The excitement swelled as the people rallied, although some chose to linger in doubt. "How can we conquer?" they murmured. "The giants in the land are formidable." But Caleb, unwavering, replied, "Fear not, for our God is greater than any foe. Stand firm, for just as He was with us against Ai, so too shall He be with us in the face of giants." Thus, with renewed determination, they prepared to march further into the unknown, anticipation mingling with faith. Yet unbeknownst to them, a larger plan was unfolding, one that would not only affect their journey but the very destiny of nations. And the question lingered in the hearts of the wise: what divine purpose rested beyond the horizon, waiting to be revealed? What future encounters with God lay ahead, veiled in holy mystery? And so the people's spirits ignited with the fire of faith and expectation, rekindled with the promise of the land they were destined to inherit. They rallied together, the tribe of Judah and all Israel, firm in their commitment to possess the land flowing with milk and honey. The time had come to confront the giants once more, to rise up as warriors of the Most High, and to claim their inheritance. As they journeyed onward, Caleb's heart swelled with fervor, grateful for every step closer to Hebrew hills kissed by divine blessing. He turned to his comrades, his voice steady and resolute, "Remember the words of the Lord. He shall go before us and deliver the land into our hands. The giants are but shadows before the light of His glory." Rallying around him, the tribes echoed his conviction, each heartbeat synchronizing to the cadence of divine purpose. Through valleys and over hills, they traversed, their hearts beating as one, a chorus of trust rising from their very midst. Joshua shouted the command, "Be strong and courageous. For we have not come this far to retreat. We will take back what the Lord has promised." With vibrant spirits and trusting hearts, the entire assembly surged forward, united and prepared for the challenge ahead. Yet, unbeknownst to them, in the cities they approached, fear gripped the hearts of their adversaries. The news of Caleb and Joshua's faith surged through the structures of Jericho and beyond. The inhabitants had heard of the victories won, the relentless pursuit of promise, and in their fear, they sought to gather defenses anew. "Surely their God is with them," they whispered among themselves, terror creeping into their hearts as the word of the Israelites' approach echoed in the winds. As the sun set over the horizon, painting the sky with fiery hues of red and gold, the Israelites approached the city of Hebron, the mountain Caleb coveted for decades. "This will be ours," Caleb declared, his hand outstretched toward the peaks that had once seemed insurmountable. "Let us ascend with the confidence of those who know their God." All the elders murmured their agreement, swelling with a newfound courage as the mountain loomed closer. Caleb's heart raced not for himself, but for the generation that would follow, that they might show unyielding faith in the face of opposition, and walk in the covenant made with their forefathers. In the quiet of the night before the battle, he took time to seek the Lord, pondering the goodness promised, and the perils ahead. "O Lord," he prayed, kneeling upon the earth, "you have given me strength throughout these years. As I lay claim to this land, let your will surround us as a shield. Grant us victory." He sensed the Lord's peace wash over him, affirming the promise bestowed upon those who remained steadfast in faith. In the silence, his spirit fed on the timeless truth God had indeed brought them this far, and he would not abandon them now. When morning broke, like the dawn of a new era, an urgency lit their hearts. They gathered, warriors prepared for the fray, each one ready for the inheritance that awaited them. Joshua stood before them again, as their leader and shepherd, with powerful resolve in his voice. Today, we claim what is rightfully ours. For Caleb's faith has anchored us through the storms of doubt. Let us honor that legacy with our courage as we rise against the giants. With swords drawn and hearts united, they charged into the approaching conflict, lifting shouts of praise as they encountered the fortified walls of Hebron. But upon that rocky terrain, Caleb remembered the words of the Lord spoken through Moses, "Every place that the sole of your foot will tread upon I have given to you." Each step resonated with divine authority, echoing promise through the air as if heaven itself bore witness. As they struck the ground against the giants, faith rose within them like smoke from the altar, ascending towards the heavens. They fought not merely with swords, but with the assurance that every drop of sweat and every word of prayer was accompanied by the power of the Almighty. The earth shook under the weight of faith. Caleb pressed forward, relentless and unwavering, shouting, "Let the Lord arise, let his enemies be scattered." The battle raged, yet in moments of trial, the Spirit of God poured into their very bones, granting them strength to overcome the might of their foes. Miraculous signs arose as courage held its ground against fear, igniting victory after victory. The walls of hesitation crumbled, revealing the bounty laid forth in divine love. By the day's end, the city lay in their hands. The cries of joy filled the air, harmonizing with a melody that ascended into heaven, a testament of faithfulness, unfurling like a banner high above the land. Caleb raised his voice amid the warriors, filled with deep gratitude. "The Lord has done great things for us, we are glad." In that moment, surrounded by victory and awe, he knew they were not merely conquerors but bearers of divine promise, cast into a future which would herald the goodness of God for countless generations. And the land flowed anew, each tribe gathering the spoils, memories forged within the hearts of their children. As they began to settle, Caleb spoke once more to his people, "Remember what we have witnessed. For each battle won in faith only confirms what God is capable of. Let us tell our children, let us share these wonders. The exploits of Jehovah compels us ever onward into his plans." With resolve, the elders established an altar, stones gathered from the ruins as reminders of their victories. "For thus says the Lord," Caleb proclaimed in reverent authority, "this land is ours not by our might, but by his grace." As the days passed, the story of Caleb's unwavering faith echoed throughout the land. His legacy became a beacon, drawing every heart to trust the eternal promises of God. And generations told of the time when fear met faith, and giants fell at the hands of those who believed, for the Lord had led them through wilderness paths, through deserts of doubt, and finally into the promised land. Each victory had been wrought with divine purpose, a narrative of redemption woven through the hands of those willing to believe. This story, dear friends, is not merely one of ages past but a call to our hearts today. Are we prepared to believe as Joshua and Caleb did? Do we stand resolute in the face of our own giants? Just as they claimed their inheritance, we too are invited to seize the promises of the Lord. Now, as you reflect on this powerful testimony of faith, consider the call upon your own life. What obstacles stand between you and your God-given promise? Let this be the moment you trust the God who led his people through the wilderness. He is still leading you. Join us in the ongoing journey of faith. You need to subscribe now to stay connected to God's Word as we share more stories that will uplift and inspire you. Like this video now to help spread God's Word through the algorithm and make it accessible to more souls yearning for truth. Comment your reflections on this story, sharing how it has impacted your faith journey. Every word holds power and brings encouragement. And don't wait even one more second to share this powerful testimony with at least 5 friends who need to hear the glorious truth of God's faithfulness. Together, let us carry the light of Jesus into the world.